All right, in this money episode, we tell the story of a couple whose videos have blown up on YouTube with their relatable advice and tips on being in good health and establishing a nutrition and fitness plan. And I would venture to say that over the past year, if you've seen somebody online working out next to a TV, they are probably watching one of the videos of this couple. Hope you enjoy it.
Let's get some money.
From New Money, New Problems, it's the New Money, New Problems podcast, a show for successful professionals searching for the tools they need to navigate financial opportunities and obstacles they've never seen. Negotiating compensation, purchasing your first investment property, helping your family with money, the highs and lows of entrepreneurship. New money brings new problems that require new solutions. Join us as we work through them together. I'm Brenton Harrison, and this is the New Money, New Problems podcast.
All right, Juice and Toya, welcome to the New Money, New Problems podcast.
Appreciate you for having us.
Thank you for having us. I'm excited.
Thank you for being on. For those who know me well, you know my best friend is Brandon Middleton, and Juice and Toya have known him for a while and made this connection. So I would love to get started with talking a little bit about before you were Juice and Toya, when you were Juice and Toya separately. Tell me a little bit about childhood. You know, where'd you all grow up? What was life like?
Yeah. Me?
You got it.
So I was born in Bitburg, Germany. I lived there till I was 7, and it wasn't military. I am half German, probably got like 60% fluency of speaking. My mom married a man from Kansas City, and that's how we ended up in Kansas City. And so from 7 until I went to college, I grew up in a small town near Kansas City. And yeah, childhood was rough. I had a very rough childhood. And then kind of going to college, that was the first time I was like my own person, essentially. I went to school at University of Missouri. Shout out to Mizzou football. We're killing it this year. And we don't get to say that often, so when we do, I take advantage. And so it wasn't until I went to college that I really got exposed to more of the world, essentially. I met people from all over the world. People, you know, when you go to college, it's like people from everywhere. So that's really when I first was like, I don't want to live in Missouri anymore. Like, why am I still here? So graduated college and then literally packed up my car with a friend and we drove to Los Angeles.
On a whim.
Got an Airbnb for 30 days until we found an apartment and been here ever since. So.
Oh, wow. So when you got to school, in addition to meeting new people, getting exposed to new, types of education, were you interested in fitness even then?
Yeah, so growing up, I was always an athlete. Looking back now, I feel like some of that was by default of, I like to run, but I ran to be out of my home a lot of times. And so I kind of got a love for fitness because running was something that was like mental clarity for me. And then once I got into college, I did like running clubs. I didn't play for Mizzou, but I did just clubs, and I liked how it introduced you to new people. You could make friends that way. It kept you active. But then additionally, my mom was always very sick with colon cancer. And so probably from teenage years on, she changed her eating habits and I did it with her. And it made me also, as I got into athletics and more sports, for me, it was more, I understood how diet and lifestyle affects your health, watching my mom go through it. So once I got to Mizzou, initially I wanted to do physical therapy. I had knee surgery, went through physical therapy, and was like, I'm not doing this the rest of my life. So it was really boring to me. And so that year I changed my major to nutritional science. And with that, it was kind of an open book to allow you to go into more of a nutrition field, which could look like anything from dietetics to working in hospitals, working with schools, whatever. But then junior year, I started bikini bodybuilding competitions. And once I did that, that's what led me to personal training. I'd never had a personal trainer before that. It was all just like coaches. But once I got into bikini bodybuilding, I won my first competition. And then I was like, all right, I'm hooked, And so that got me into personal training because I saw how consistent exercise and consistent nutrition changed my body. And then friends around me, were like, how'd you do that? Like, and so that kind of led me to helping others do it. That's kind of how I got into personal training. So,
Okay. So we have the plus Toya. Let's get the juice to LA. How did you get to LA?
So I'm born and raised Houston, Texas. Started playing sports when I was, man, as young as my mom would let me. I remember being like 5 or 6 years old. I started playing basketball, and I love watching football. I always wanted to play. My mom was like, he's not ready. So I played football starting about 8 years old. Was really good at a young age. My dad put me in plenty of position to be great, put me in all these camps and just kept me active year round. So I was just addicted to sports, playing any type of sport. It didn't matter. High school, going to college, I ended up getting a scholarship to go to Rice University, where I played 4 years, played football there. And that's kind of where I got introduced to just traveling, because when you play in college, you travel every week or every other week to go to different cities. So we went to the Midwest. We played in Tennessee. We played for the first time I went from Memphis and had Memphis barbecue for the first time. So we went all over the country, and then even we were fortunate enough to go to Hawaii my senior year for a bowl game. So that was like, even we had never been like far west. We kind of stayed like Midwest to the east side. So that kind of opened me up to like travel. So I graduated college, and I was like, man, I've lived in Houston. Rice is in Houston. I lived there my entire life. I just wanted something different. So I'd never really been out west. So I was like, I want to go to California. You see it on TV. I want to see the Hollywood sign, all the cliche stuff. And when I tell you, when you get to California for the first time, especially at a time where the weather's great, it just kind of it just kind of captures you. So it's like, I remember going to the beach. And Houston has beaches, but everybody knows it's not. It isn't it. And I remember going on a hike and just seeing just the nature and the weather, and I was hooked. So my first time was like January of my senior year. I went to California, and every time throughout that last semester, I was like, I have to go back. And then I went back again, and I was like, all right, next time I'm coming back here, I'm living here. So I moved on a whim. It kind of threw my parents off. My dad thought I was coming home after I graduated, and it was kind of, at first it was kind of disappointing to him, but my parents have always kind of let me fly. Whatever I felt, whatever I was passionate about, they always let me just kind of pursue that. So that's what kind of led me here. And initially I was actually training to try to go to the NFL. I was still active free agent, trying to find a home somewhere. And honestly, it was about 2 or 3 months of living here where I'd felt, for the first time in my life, I felt like healthy, because football beats you up over time. And that was the first time I had an opportunity to really heal. I always played hurt. So I had to make a decision, like, do I want to really put my body through that trauma again? Or do I really want to, try to create a career, feel healthy for once, and try to pursue something else? So that's kind of what led me to LA.
I always ask people this when they tell their money story. At some point, either having money or the lack of money or just the recognition of the power that it has, like, you become aware of it. At what point in you all's childhood development did you recognize the power of having or not having money?
Yeah, I think for me, probably like 9, 10 years old. Like I said, my childhood was very rough, and it was a lot of like single mom of 7 children who also suffered cancer 5 times. So as you can imagine, with cancer aside, that's a financial challenge. And then you throw, not being able to work, having hospital bills, all of that. So probably from 8 or 9 years old, immediately I knew what it meant to have financial struggles. I knew the power of money because I saw what happened if you didn't have it. And then when you did get a little bit of it, the excitement that it brought, or what it could fix, essentially. So from a very early age for me, I'm also the second oldest of 7 siblings. So a lot of like pressure kind of comes to like help out at a very young age too, So once you are able to start working, it kind of just you got to help with the bills and help with groceries and things like that. So yeah, like very, very early for me, for sure.
For me, it was also pretty early too, and it was more credit to my parents. I was able to see just to kind of transition from where we started when I was like a young kid versus when I was in high school. So when I was, I want to say I was like 6 years old, We live in a city called Missouri City, Texas. It's a suburb in Houston. And, we had a, 2-bedroom house. I think it was, 2 or 3-bedroom house, very small house. And then I kind of gradually saw us move from one house to a slightly bigger house and then to a house, their dream house, you know what I mean? So for me, I kind of saw the grind of like, I obviously didn't see the physical money, but I saw the hard work that went into really transitioning and having a better lifestyle. Because my parents always, I feel like they did everything for me and my brother. They wanted us to move us to a new district to be able to go to better schools and have better opportunities, and it all paid off at the end of the day. So I was able to see just sort of that transition and transformation over time of what money could actually do for a family and opportunities. So.
Yeah.
Okay. So you both get to LA, and it sounds like neither of you particularly knew exactly what you were going to do when you got there. How did you all meet?
Cliche, we met at a gym.
Yeah. The story is so significant, and like, you know, it's like we were going to meet at some point in our life. God was going to make it happen. The way we met was just like, we met at the gym that we both worked at, but the gym situation was he worked at a gym first coming to LA and was like, I have a college degree, I'm not working here.
And I only worked there to stay in shape. That was like my motivation.
Have a free membership.
Free membership, I'm going to stay in shape. If I get a call, I'm there. You know?
Yeah, so he quit that gym, and then probably like the 2 days after he quit, I didn't know him. A couple days after he quit, I came to LA and I was like, I just need a job until I figure out what I'm doing here. I'll work in a gym. I've got my CPT. Went and applied to this gym, and they're like, oh, we had someone quit. When can you start? And he was the person that quit. Still didn't know him,
Found
never met him.
2 years after the fact.
And so I get in the gym and I'm like, oh no, this is not it. Like I have a college degree. I do not need to be working here. So I'm trying to look for a better gym, better opportunity, and supposed to have an interview at one gym. It fell through and all of this run around. So I was like, I'm going to apply in Westwood. He did the same, had an interview at another gym that he showed up and they were like, oh, it was 30 minutes ago.
It was crazy. They gave me a time. It was supposed to, they told me 12 o'clock or 12:30 the interview started. I got there at, I think it was like, no, it was supposed to be at 12:30 and it actually started at 12.
Yeah.
So they told me wrong. I showed up and I ended up being
was over.
late.
Yeah.
The interview was over and I missed that opportunity. So I applied at another chain. It was a chain gym and ended up, that's kind of where we, and we got hired together. So it was 40 people. It was 4 rounds of interviews. Started at 40 people that cut it down to like 15, cut it down to 5, and then we were the only 2 to get hired together at this particular gym.
So we could have met at the first gym. We could have never, then we get hired together, and like when you work at a gym, it's like you're building a business essentially.
As a trainer, that is.
Getting clients is like building a business, and so when you first start, you pretty much live at the gym. You're there all day long because you could have a client at 6 a.m., you could have a client at 7 p.m. If you know LA, the traffic, leaving in between clients is not worth it. By the time you get home, it's time to turn around. So you're pretty much packing a bag at 5 a.m. and you're there all day.
Staying there all day.
You spend a lot of time together, and not just the 2 of us, the people we worked with, they pretty much become your family. Like you kind of have if you don't like the people you work with at the gym, you're not going to be very successful.
For sure.
It's like, so we met at the gym and then found out our birthdays were 2 days apart, and we were like, oh, let's celebrate our birthdays together. I ended up having a birthday party at my place, sent him the address, and he's like, oh, I live 2 minutes away. So for 6 months, he lived right down the street. I had no idea. So then we start carpooling to work together, and then you just really start to like each other.
We were best friends just because we had so much in common.
Yeah.
We just understood each other's grind. We had the same. We both moved on a whim. So we just kind of understood each other.
Both new to LA, figuring it out. Yeah.
Now y'all can say you're best friends, and it may be true, but somebody made the first move. Who made the first move?
I'm gonna be completely honest. It really was mutual. I feel like
as much as I would like to say, it was kind of mutual because it got to a point where we were both like, we spend every day together.
Yeah. It's just like one day we just never left, like
Yeah.
it was just kind of, and from the beginning it was always like you two are together, and we really were not. Like for a whole year we were just friends, and like we would make fun of
And we
people
both
like
had like significant others
at the
beforehand
beginning.
at the very
Yeah.
beginning too. So it
Yeah.
wasn't like,
Yeah, it was just like you had to be close friends with the people you worked with. And there were other people that would be with us all the time, but it just got to a point where it was just like, when you like miss being around someone when you're not around them. But he wasn't my boyfriend, but I wanted to be around him all the time. That's kind of when you're like,
yeah.
oh, I guess we are together then.
Yeah.
Like, and then it just happened from there, I guess. Like,
This is the New Money, New Problems podcast, a show for successful professionals searching for the tools they need to navigate financial opportunities and obstacles they've never seen. We'll be right back.
Are you wondering what new money problems you might be overlooking in your financial life? If so, we've got great news. We've crafted the New Money, New Problems Gap Finder to identify potential weaknesses in your finances in areas ranging from budgeting, investments, insurance, and even the threat your extended family's finances could pose to your household. Please head to newmoneynewproblems.com/gapfinder to complete it today. Again, that's newmoneynewproblems.com/gapfinder to take the assessment.
You're listening to the New Money, New Problems podcast. Subscribe now at newmoneynewproblems.com. Welcome back.
Well, how long after you become a couple do you decide to start making content together?
Ooh, this was so we got together summer of 2016, and it was not until we started our business One Body LA at the end of 2017. We left the gym. We were like, we don't want to be kind of limited to the ceiling. We want to really generate other opportunities and have more time for other things. So we started our business, and that's when the content kind of started. We were just kind of throwing stuff at the wall, seeing what sticks. And trying to really just market ourselves. And I remember asking my dad, it might have been 2017, 2018, yo, can I use your camera? Because I knew he used to take pictures of me in college, and I knew it was collecting dust at home. So I was like, if I can use this camera, we can have quality pictures for our website. We can do videos, tutorials, whatever we need to do to get our business off the ground. And that's kind of where it stemmed from. And again, it was a lot of different things that kind of led us to the content that we create today. So I'd say about late 2017, early 2018 is when we really started to like experiment.
Really get into content.
For sure.
Yeah.
For sure.
My wife and I, we're both very type A, and we both think we're right more frequently than we probably are. So to me, like working together is a boundary that's probably best to not cross. You also, so I'll ask, like, how is that process of working together? But then in addition to that, you're also building a business that earns money, and you bring different philosophies, different backgrounds on money to that business. How do you navigate those two topics?
I think for sure at the beginning, working together was tough because we're also both very type A. And it was a lot of, it wasn't you're right, I'm wrong. It was a lot of like, well, I want to do it this way, but he wants to do it another way, but there's only one way we can do it, so we got to have some common ground. So I think it took, and this kind of stems from like the separate backgrounds, leaving the gym and starting our own business. That was bumping heads because I've always had secure income for myself. Every 2 weeks I'm getting paid because of my background with money, where I was terrified to have to do it on my own, where he had always had an entrepreneurial mind where he was like, no, like all we got to do is this, this, and this. And to me, I'm like, yeah, but on the 15th, there's no paycheck, like it was just like that separation. So I really had to kind of like understand where he was coming from and really trust in the business that we were creating, which meant I really needed to trust him also, and
sure.
So that was hard at the beginning, but once we started, it was a lot easier because we realized like you said, we were creating our own content, and working for yourself. It's so much fun because you're in control of everything, and so if it failed, it was because of what I was or wasn't doing. So it's
Right.
all on me. And I like that pressure, you know?
Yeah.
So that kind of made it fun in a sense of like, you know, really kind of getting the business off the ground and then doing it. Like you said, we were best friends. So it was someone that I was used to working with and
For real.
being around all the time anyway. So it was easy from that standpoint, but there was some
Yeah, it may
bumping of heads.
Yeah, it made having those conversations a lot easier because
Yeah.
we worked together, so we had experience, you know, just working together as a team. So I think,
like I knew he was a hard worker, and I knew he also didn't like failing, that Texas competitiveness, you know. So I knew like starting the business was going to be a success. It was just that fear of leaving
the unknowns.
I guess the comfortability of a paycheck is really all it was.
For
like,
sure.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
When you have those marital conversations that are now business conversations about what you want the end result to be like, what do those conversations look like amongst the two of you? And then where do you see yourselves headed in like the progression of your business?
I'd say it's been an evolution of what we thought the business, because what we did when we first started, or what we thought of when we first started, is not what we're currently
do
doing now. So
Yeah.
of course we have aspirations of being this, but we kind of just, you know, like especially when COVID happened, that was a real shift,
Turning
not just for us, but I'm sure for obviously for
Everyone. Yeah.
everybody. So when we first started, especially our YouTube channel, it was just about tips and tricks.
Yeah.
Just helping people around the gym navigate certain, learning how to use certain equipment, what exercises work, what muscle groups. It was just simple stuff.
Yeah.
Not
follow along.
Not follow
workouts.
along, nothing like that. Just
Yeah.
stuff that we thought people wanted to see, and a lot of it was just ideas we got from clients and just being around in the fitness space. So when COVID happened, it was like, we don't have a gym, they don't have a gym. We don't have any equipment at home because we use equipment at gyms all the time. So like that transitioned our whole idea of what we wanted the business to be, what we wanted our YouTube channel to be. And at first I was against doing follow along workouts. I was like, I don't want to do this P90X stuff. Like I want to really give people like, but then when you don't have gyms, everybody has to have a way of working out. You know what I mean? So we gave it a shot and we put the first one out. At first we sent it to our clients to do, just say, hey, test this out. We were thinking about putting this out. We put it out and we started to get some traction even off the first one, the second one, because at the time it was the most searchable thing on YouTube at the time.
No one had a gym.
No one had a gym.
Yeah.
So we realized that and we was like, we got to take advantage of this now. Let's try to do our best to put these videos together. So now our idea of what we want to be is completely different than what it was before. But, you know, we built this community of people who trust us with their bodies. And that's huge because, you know, with a lot of other content that you see on YouTube, it's not often that you get to affect people's lives in the sense of their health. You might affect their mental health with entertainment. You might affect their, you know, nutrition or whatever. But rarely do you just, you know, we've had people say, I've canceled my membership. I've lost 75 pounds with just doing your videos. You know, and it's kind of transitioned how we want to, what we want to view our future as. So in the future, we'd love to keep this up. So many people have benefited from the content that we've put out. We honestly don't want to stop because the times where we've stopped, they let us know. They're like, yo, where you been? I haven't.
Yeah,
You know.
I will say too, the reason we left the gym and started our own business, our whole goal was to reach more people. So when you're at a gym, you train one person for 1 hour and there's only so many hours in a day that you can train at the gym. Even if you trained all 24 hours every single day of your life, that's impossible, right? So you're at a cap of
It's a ceiling.
how many people you can really impact and reach. And we both had bigger goals than that. So our initial goal with One Body LA was more in-person, more group training. We wanted to go to
Build a community,
homes, or at one point we wanted to go to apartments and like host classes at apartments. Like we just wanted to do more than just one-on-one and then leave the one-on-one for just like more exclusive times. And then our YouTube, the reason we started that was because our Instagram at the time was only 15-second clips. So you couldn't post what you wanted to post on Instagram, especially in this type of field. It's like you can't really explain yourself like you want to if you're really trying to give advice. So we started the YouTube
For long form.
and like reach that broader audience too. And we always said we didn't want to start the YouTube unless we can be consistent at it and make the content different. So then when COVID hit, we we didn't have the time initially to post consistently like we wanted to on YouTube, because we were training from 6 a.m. to 7 p.m. like all day. We were never home together. Then when COVID hit, we were like, oh, we've got 2 weeks because gyms are only closed for 2 weeks. What can we do? Let's shoot some YouTube content while we have the time. Then 2 weeks turned into a month, and 3 months, and a year. So, it kind of forced us to, if we're going to do something over COVID, we need to, or if we're going to do something productive. So thankfully we already had that YouTube in place. It just went in a whole different direction than we intended to, but it was a blessing in disguise, because I don't think we would have ever quit training one-on-one. So when would we have ever had the time to consistently film, record, and post like we do? And then, like he said, our whole goal was to help other people, and now we're helping literally millions of people. And that was the goal. So we ended up doing what we wanted, just in a path that we never saw would impact.
And in that time, our back was against the wall, because our income got cut probably about 60%.
Oh, for sure.
Just not having the gym available. So we were like, we have to.
We
do
did
something.
Zoom training, but you don't charge as much.
You couldn't charge as much. It was new to everybody, so everybody wasn't, feeling it at the time. So that's kind of how it transitioned. That's kind of what we want to continue in the future, is to continue to build this community, continue to build a community of people who want to just grow together, get healthy, and spread just helpful information. But that's another thing. Is so much good and bad information online. We want to just kind of clear the air, make it simple and understandable for everybody to understand.
Yeah, and where I see it kind of going in the future, it's like like you said, we can say one thing, but I just also see, like, we didn't expect from the beginning of where we were 2018 for it to be here now. So to me, it's also kind of cool to see, with the internet now in the world, it's like limitless possibilities, know? And so there might be a new platform that comes out next year that you can help even more people, like YouTube isn't available in some countries, and so there are people who still aren't being impacted by the workout. So I feel like for us, just what we're able to do, there really isn't like a limit or a ceiling to the potential that we have, so
I look back on my life, and the careers, lives of people who I work with, and a lot of times I can trace those big jumps in their income to trials, like the ones that you guys had in COVID. Juice, like you tearing your ACL, putting a different type of content out there that speaks to people who are trying to train with injuries. Sometimes those things, like in the moment, it sucks. But you look back 5 years later and you're like, man, that's the best thing that ever happened to me. When I look at you all's content from somebody who works out at home, there are little things that just make them phenomenal videos. Juice, to follow along, even though you fought it. Having the preview video of the move before the move starts, saying what weight you're working with, and just giving people a guide so they're just not just picking up random dumbbells and hurting their back or something, like having modifications, this person's doing this, just these little things that if you're just watching, you're like, oh, this is a cool video. As a person who owns a business, I know that like each part of that is a very conscious decision. And the thing that probably a lot of your audience doesn't know that I know from Brandon is that you all are self-taught and you record and edit on your own. So where are you getting those tips, those ideas? Because it's not like there's somebody over you saying like, oh, here's how we do it here.
Yeah. A lot of it has just been, trial and error and just listening to your audience. That's a lot of things that, we've been recommended. People want this, people want that. And we always, our first year, or I guess after COVID, we responded to every single comment. Every single one. We spent probably 2 hours a day responding to comments, what people wanted. If somebody said, oh, this is a great workout, I love it, we would respond to it.
Yeah.
So we got really connected with our audience from the jump, and they pretty much molded our channel. And then of course, there are a lot of other great channels that I took inspiration from, that were in the game well before we were. But I was like, how can I do this and make it ours? Make it something that's unique and different in our style.
And something that we want to do consistently.
Correctly.
Because if it's not fun for us and you can't do it consistently, then you do it a few times and then we get bored with it, or you're not consistent with it, and that's the whole, name of the game there. But I think too, as we grew in the channel, we were able to just, if you go back to the very first follow along workout, that was in an old apartment where we didn't have the space to film together. So I had to do mine, he had to do his, and the editing was literally split screen. So that took us 4 hours.
With a computer that wasn't at the time, I didn't know anything about specs and like
exactly.
RAM and all that stuff. So it was super slow. It took me probably a week to edit this 20-minute workout video. So we from the very beginning, we had trials of just trying to just put this content out. So over time, when we got more recommendations, when we got a lot of constructive criticism, we didn't take it personal. Like people was like, "Yo, this timer sucks." Like,
or they would say we need another view, and I'm like, we don't have the space.
I only got one camera.
So, and that's the other thing, we were able to buy another camera, which allowed us to give another view. We were able to find a space that we could consistently rent and also afford. When we first started, spaces were like $300 an hour, and so it's like, if you're spending 4 hours just to film one workout, that wasn't going to be cost effective. So once we figured out a workflow, we have a space we can consistently rent. We were able to get faster computers, more cameras, like to be able to grow with them. It's like the recommendations we were giving, we were able to provide because we were able to grow within it.
And with all that, I do majority of the editing as far as the YouTube, and she's getting better at it. I've been teaching her, and it's helped over time, just because now that she's learning, it's allowing us to be more efficient with the content we put out. But YouTube University, man, that's what I call it. You can learn anything, literally anything. When I learned how to make graphics for the channel, the timer, everything is, if people ask for it, I tried my best to figure out how to do it and put it on the channel in a way that's, it gave me an efficient workflow. Because that's another thing. There were some things I wanted to include, but it just took so long to put the videos out. So I kind of found a common ground of like, what can I learn and what can I continue to put out to where it's giving people what they want, and I can continue to add on and make it better. So,
and also the last thing, we are married, but we do have business hours. So we do take time every week to meet as if we're coworkers, to say like, we write all of our own workouts too, and they're not just like, we don't just show up and just like shoot the workout. We program this stuff, and we're like, okay, do we need more dumbbell? We haven't done much strength. Like, they need a refresher on this. Someone might say, hey, I don't know how to do deadlifts. So we might say, hey, let's do a video just on that. So we do meet and like brainstorm what's needed, what we think would be successful, and how we can execute it, essentially. So we do treat each other as coworkers during business hours. So
we're getting to the end of this episode, so I'm going to ask you some questions that we ask of all our guests, but especially couples. We've talked about the things that you bring from childhood with you when it comes to money. When you are operating at your best and you think about how you are with money, what are some of the behaviors that you're showing?
Ooh, that's a good question.
Yeah.
I think, honestly, not necessarily a behavior, but I think we both have this mindset of like not forgetting where we came from. Because a lot of times when things get hard, we kind of go back to say like, man, we've been through so much together. It's been a journey. All the struggles that we went to get to this point. So, when things get hard, we kind of tap into that past, to tap into the times where, things weren't so great, or we were just grinding, I remember saying like, I remember the days we just prayed for this, where we are now. Like, we were hoping that the stuff that we were putting out would pay off and get to this point. So I think, like I said, it's not necessarily a behavior per se, but it's more so just understanding like we put a lot of blood, sweat, and tears literally to get to this point. And as long as we kind of never forget that and keep that in our minds, I think, the sky's the limit, honestly, for us.
Yeah, I think honestly one behavior we had to learn was how to appreciate the blessings in a way to where we didn't feel guilty. And like you just said, we put a lot of work into it. It's like understanding that you deserve it, and it's because this is such a grind, like reminding ourselves it's okay to take a vacation. It's so like you still can take time off. But I think for us,
we didn't take a vacation till like 3-4 years in our relationship.
Yeah.
It was year round nonstop.
but
so.
because our money, our childhood relationships with money, they're completely different, but they're the same in a sense that neither one of us were just handed things. We both had to work hard for everything, which I think kind of makes our relationship in terms of money so strong, because we both, like I said, understand what it takes to work hard for money, regardless of the amount. We understand the value of $1 and what it took to get that, and knowing what it's like to not have it, and also knowing what it was like when we were back in our gym days, like grinding for a much smaller amount, and the amount of work we put in for that too. It's like not taking for granted any amount of money and understanding like the work that you put in to get it, but also that you're deserving of it. I think that was something that was hard for me to learn, honestly. So, yeah.
Now, there's another part that says there's a behavior financially that I would like to leave on the shelf, but sometimes it crops up and it doesn't serve me well. What are some elements of your personality, of your relationship with money, where you're aware this is something that's not beneficial?
I guess, I don't know.
I know mine.
There you go.
Leaving it in my checking account.
Oh, gosh.
So what I mean by that is like not investing, or like I used to have this fear of letting my checking get under a certain point, and he would be like, put that into savings, put it in, like invest it. Yeah. And I was always like, no, I'm scared because and he was like, no, it's still your money. It's just in a different place. And so for me, again, kind of going to that fear of not having money, I was like, no, because if it's in the checking, I can see it. I don't want anyone else to touch it. I don't want anyone to be responsible. I don't even want it in a savings. I want it right here where I always have access. So for me, the investing, like releasing control of it and things like that was hard for me. And I need to leave that behavior.
I guess for me, early on in our relationship, I mean, it's kind of contrary to what I preach, but I kind of put my health on the back burner, for the grind. So she would tell you, I'd stay up 2 o'clock in the morning. I'd have a 6 a.m. client just on YouTube trying to learn different things. Because I want to be able to do this for our video coming up. So being with her, she doesn't play about her sleep. So ultimately, I had to learn that like this is going to affect everything at some point. And it got to a point where I'd do this for 2 weeks and I'd crash for 4 days. And then it's like, it's going to pretty much be the same thing. If you just limit yourself to a certain time, really grind it out, but also give yourself time to rest, give yourself time to focus on your body.
So investing your money in the right ways, in your health,
into
savings, into markets, whatever.
Now I sleep like a baby. Now I sleep 7 to 8 hours.
Exactly.
So that's good counsel. Well, I can tell you this from somebody who, at least from afar, has seen the progress from 10 to 20 to 50 to 100 to 500,000 to a million, now creeping up on 1.5 million, and get online and seeing Tabitha Brown working out, watching your videos. I can say that I truly hope that you all appreciate the journey, because from afar, the people who've been following you and are appreciating it. So I thank you all for being willing to come on New Money, New Problems.
Of course, we appreciate it.
Absolutely. Thank you.
From New Money, New Problems, this was the New Money, New Problems podcast, a show for successful professionals searching for the tools they need to navigate financial opportunities and obstacles they've never seen.